the NWF Champion Ace.
Pitts is called to match. For some strange reason, he's giving the victory to Kid Kelsey.
Mr. X declared the new champion.
The new champion, Mr. X.
He's won the title match. Get it back, bring him down. Coach Crossen, the new champion.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I am your host, Dixie Dave, along with this blunder over here. You know, the 5-time loser.
Yeah, coming from a one-time loser that never even got to defend the titles.
Hey, I defended my title.
Because he lost it. So he never had a winning defense, I guess you could say. Yeah, that's the way to put it.
Okay. But was I the one that got pinned?
But was I the one that actually gave you the opportunity to get that damn title, and you don't show any respect for that, and Gizmo doesn't like that. Matter of fact, Gizmo is chatting here. Let's bring the comment in. He says, hey guys, it's great to be back. Our team has been filming the high school state championships. I know I figured it was Sky Sports stuff, so that's like you don't have to explain it, Gizmo. I knew that you obviously were busy. Even though we weren't here, we were thinking about it. I don't know if you caught the replays. Hopefully you watched the shows in your spare time, but it was we had some good shows. Jamie was great, and Dave came in on the Jamie show, but he was half asleep and he couldn't make her all the way.
Hey, we had a family emergency that day, but still devoted to my fans, I showed up.
Yeah. Well, we got a great show today, Dave. It's Yoho Municipal, and it's the Eagle Clash, as I like to call it, between me and Thandar.
It's the infamous show.
Well, yeah. I mean, actually, it's the first show with the actual wrestling ring. We just got the new ring, and so that was so cool to have that. I mean, because
you were so excited to use it, you had to set it up to tape the show.
Yep, we taped the show and did it in the driveway at Yoho Municipal, and the whole neighborhood, and the next door neighbor lady did daycare, and she had all the little kids. She set up a blanket for them. They watched, and we had other kids across the street on their roof watching on their garage roof. Yeah, we had a lot of interest when we did this taping. It's kind of funny, but really though, like. You know this. I mean, coming from the Fred Moore ring and all the other rings we had before this with these hard-ass surfaces, and then now to be able to be in this was like, wow, this is like so cool for us. We were
in hog heaven.
Yes, and the confidence level went way up because if anybody has ever been in a wrestling ring knows, there's a sense of comfort there. Not that it doesn't take all the pain away, but it makes it a lot easier to bump.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Very
You know,
excited we were.
I got a bone to pick, Crusher.
What's that?
Last show
Mm-hmm.
that we did,
And
you
the one
have
you're talking about the one I did with Forward or the one you and I did?
the one we did with Jamie.
Okay.
You didn't advertise Dixie Dave. There was hardly anybody there.
Well, we didn't have anybody on Forward either, hardly. We had a few. But no, when we don't have the Sky Sports crew, we don't have our bread and butter. So, for the live audience, it is. We get tons of people that watch replay. Obviously, all of our shows going to a couple, 200-300 views, but regularly, if not more. But yeah. Oh, here's a comment. I missed this one from Sky Sports Video News. It says we feel like we missed the best two shows. We watched them and really enjoyed them. So yeah, they did watch the replays, and yeah, they were. Jamie was a great conversation. Like Dave, when you went to bed, I don't know. He's got the professional setup with the mic and everything. So it's just like we have our good quality audio setups. Like yours is good too, but like it makes a difference.
Right.
When we get people like when I do Wrestling Revolution with the Keaton, we get people on their cell phones and the other ways of coming in, and sometimes you get really hit and miss audio. It's not as, I don't know, it takes away part of the luster, I guess you could say. But and also this like we said, this match with Thandar that I had, I was getting a lot of pressure from the guys, saying I'm ducking these guys, I'm not going against, because the reputation of Tim on the league was pretty obvious. If you go in the ring with him, it's going to be a rough match. And he had that reputation.
But that's the thing. When he worked with me, yes, things looked stiff. But with me, he was light as a feather.
Yeah, Jerry's light as a feather, his partner, Conan. But Tim was not. And it wasn't just me who said that. A lot of guys said that.
Well, that may, the reason Tim may have backed off on me is, by the time I entered the NWF, we had been friends for 8 or 9 years already.
And maybe because everybody else was so rough with you, he wanted to give you a break. No, because he knew you more, Yeah.
Well, I mean, he knew I could take it. He just, for some reason, it seems like the people that were light with you.
Yeah, like Steve.
Like to be rough with me.
Yeah.
But the people that like to get rough with you were light with me.
But here's the thing, though. Thandar didn't really do this intentionally. It was just kind of his way. And he expected you to be just as rough with him. And then there was a sense of respect when you were done. So it's like, and we had that after this match. But it was a rough match. It was it was an ego clash. And you'll see it. And then also, we got Terry Block on the show, Invader One, with his amazing super kicks. Yeah. One of the best. Those flying super kicks he did. God, they look good. Yeah, they were very, very good.
So now that we can actually talk about it, you getting excited for your trip to Ireland?
Yes, I am. I have my reservations made and everything. I'm all set to go out there. They're doing their very first Malone show coming up here on April 5th. There's only 12 tickets. I think it's 12 tickets left is what Nathan told me today, I think. So it's going to be a sellout for their first one. And,
right.
So that's pretty cool. And I know they're all excited. They like doing for the guys there, they get to do a bigger show now versus the dojo shows that they normally do in the dojo.
And they're going to be welcomed into a whole new world of action.
Right. And it's not that they've done big shows that they haven't. They've done big shows. It's just that this is, finally they're going to start doing these more on a regular basis. So that'll be pretty cool. Let's see. Warren McCarty says, Warren, that's right. Warren. But no, Wayne. What am I saying Warren for? Wayne McCarty says, that's great that you are going to Ireland. Yes, and I'm going to be special guest ref. I'll also be doing a somewhat of a seminar with the young kids for the kids training. I don't think I don't know if there's anything I can really give advice to the guys like Ricky and all those guys. they're so far. I've said this before, Dave. As good as we were, and the best point in time of the NWF, these kids, I call them kids,
Miles ahead.
these young men, they're miles above us.
Yeah.
Not that, it's just because wrestling's evolved. We talked about this. Wrestling's evolved, much more technical today, and their training is better. Their training versus what I got from Eddie Sharkey. Not that Eddie was bad, but it's just they're much better trained today than we were. Than I was or anybody else.
Well, trainers are more open to training younger talent.
Yeah, and that too. But they, and it just the what's the word I'm looking for? The technicality of how a match goes today.
Right. I mean,
Like,
back in the day, if a guy my age would have walked into Eddie's gym and said, here's my money, I want to train, Eddie would have looked at me and said, get the hell out of here, kid.
Right. Yeah, I mean, they would be picky and choosy on who they wanted to bring in. And one thing, though, like, this is what I was trying to tell Ricky. Like, Ricky is saying, gosh, I'd be yelled at for this, and this that you just did. But here's the thing. Like, Eddie Sharkey didn't care about where your feet were and how you locked up in that. Eddie's famous 3 words, I think, I don't know if I mentioned this or not, but I'm going to say it again. Make it believable.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he wanted. Make it believable. He didn't care how fancy you looked or how, where your feet were or anything. Because remember, old school, the idea was you wanted to make it real, make it feel like it's real. So that's why when I got hit, I'd always land on my shoulders or whatever. I'd make it look like they took my head off. That's all Eddie. That was all Eddie's advice. So, but they're trained different today, and it's a good thing. I'm not knocking Ricky or Ben or any of those guys. They're much better than we ever were, But there's still some old tricks that I can maybe show them in our kids class seminar. There's a few things I can show them, and work on their drop kicks and stuff. There'll be some things we'll be able to do. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. And then reffing the championship match for the NWF belt once again. Your cat is back there behind your belts.
Oh, yeah. Another cameo lunatic.
No, Dave, I'm excited, though. To ref the NWF belt on the line again. The Canary Kid. I don't know if you've seen the last Forward show, Dave. You didn't comment, but Ricky's... he got pretty... this love affair with him and Ben is over. Yeah, it's like the little bit of respect they had that show is gone. Yeah.
Sometimes championship belts can do that to a friendship.
Canary flat out said Ben Nelson is a bitch. And then he went off on a tangent. So, yeah.
Well, Ricky's good at that,
Yes, he is. But I told Ricky, you better stay in line. I'm reffing the match, and I don't take any crap. If you break the rules, I will disqualify you. So you push me, I'm going to push you back. There'll be and I'm sure he's going to test me on that. We'll see how that goes. But it's the Super Bowl. It's the championship. And then what happens in the Super Bowl? The refs let a lot of things go. So,
and you also have to remember, Crusher. It's like Roddy Piper used to say. You make the rules, and I'll break them.
Yep. I know I'm kind of regretting. I was showing Canary my knee drop to the nuts I used to do. I used to do that quite a bit. And I'm thinking, I probably shouldn't have showed him that. He copies me on everything. Now he's going to start doing, instead of kicking people in the knee, like he kicked Ben in his sore knee, he's going to start kicking them in other places. So I probably shouldn't be showing him that stuff. Crusher always played by the rules. Everybody knows that.
Bullshit.
Let's see. Here's a comment from Damien, and we're going to get going on our watch along for the show. Dave, you should be grateful that the young, confused Crusher Crossen that let you get into the championship match. You should show some gratitude and respect for your mentor, Crusher Crossen.
Well, here's the thing. Crusher wasn't even going to put me in the match until everybody else was dead silent on who are we going to put in this match. And I finally broke the silence, and I said, "I'll do it."
Well, he says, confused Crusher Crossen and that. Yeah, like letting you get the title. I guess I was confused.
Well, hey, it was a good option. It was a good way to keep the titles moving, keep the titles alive, even though Pretty Boy and Thandar let him die.
But you know what? Dave talks all the heel he wants. I know how he really feels. Along with the other 100 kids that went through the league, they all tell me to this very day how much I meant to them.
Yeah,
So,
I appreciate the fact I got to live out my dream at a young age. But there's one thing Crusher needs to remember. Without us, there would have been no NWF.
right. But that's like saying, what came first, the chicken or the egg? I mean, there needs to be somebody to start the league and make it work and get it going and keep it going.
But, without the performers, there wouldn't be a show.
Right. But it's because of the show I created, the performers have the opportunity. So it's a nice little saying there, Dave, but it all comes down to this. If I didn't start the show, there would be no opportunity.
Right. I agree with that. But
I have always you're talking to the wrong person if you're trying to push that line, because I've said that ever since we made the documentary.
So it's
you're kind of preaching to the wrong person on that one. Yeah, just like Wayne says here, I'm going to kind of jump ahead, but he said, without Crusher, there would be no NWF. Very true. But Dave's right. We need the guys. I mean, I need all the guys to be a part of it to make the whole thing work. So
there's one other piece of the puzzle that I'm going to give a lot of credit to for this league going.
Luscious Larry?
No. There's one other big piece of the puzzle that you're leaving out, that without this person, you wouldn't have had the idea even for the NWF.
Who was that? Lane?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about it. Yeah, that's very true. Luxury Lane was the reason I got into wrestling even.
So if I may say, thank you, Luxury, for bringing the NWF to light.
Yeah, that's true. Let's see. Gizmo says, so I don't miss this one, I am so jealous that you are getting to go to Ireland. I would have loved to see that match in person. I guess I will have to wait till Ricky comes to the United States to see him in the ring. Yeah, well, if it's Ricky, I mean, you're assuming that Ricky would win. Well, unless you mean if he ever makes it. I mean, actually, Gizmo, you're close to Canada, where he's going to probably be going to Canada this summer, and he'll probably be wrestling over there in Canada. And that's just kind of north of New York area there. You might be close enough to see him there. But I think he's going there this summer again. Yeah, and then if whoever gets the NWF belt, maybe next year, I'd like to bring whoever that has the belt at the time and get him over here and get him into San Antonio, go against Carter or Smalls or something like that. I think that would be the next step. Let's just get that title defenses going all around the world.
Yep.
Or Pure Pro. We got Global Flyer Drake coming up next week on Pure Pro. Going to be an awesome interview. This kid is amazingly good. And I'm looking forward to that. We'll talk about that more when we get to the end of the show. But I know everybody's waiting to see some wrestling. So let's go to Studio Taping 75, Yoho Municipal. Let's get it started, Dave.
Yep.
And I
apologize. Keep talking. There's no Dixie Dave on this show. At the time of this show, I was
in Florida.
In Florida.
All right, here we go. And I'm sorry, guys. I've noticed in the last few shows that that it kind of staggers and stutters sometimes on the video playbacks and stuff. That's all EV Mux. Something's going on with EV Mux there. I don't know what they're doing, but that's all on their end. That's something that maybe changed with their servers or something. Who knows? But it still works. Remember, if you subscribe to the Video Network, or you do the YouTube Championship Club, you will see the stuff without any stuttering and better resolution. Studio taping 75. You know, it's good to see you, Wayne, too, by the way. You were back as well. So it's like, it's nice that you popped in on the show. And
Well, you know, it's an obvious thing. You didn't advertise Dixie Dave last time, so...
didn't advertise. I'm thinking we need to get Wayne back on again. Like we had him on as a guest. Maybe have Wayne come on again. Maybe when we do another armory. Maybe when we do another armory watching or something. Oh, what's going to be the next armory I do? Probably the first one, the May 9th card will be coming up here. Probably doing that in May. But I'm going to split it in half this time, Dave.
Yeah. So it's not such a long night for us.
Yeah, like I'm going to do like the first half on one show and the other half on the other one. That way it's not going to be a big, long, huge card to watch.
Right.
There's that strap match. Me and Jamie were talking about that last week. What's funny about that is, and then Steve slammed me on the concrete there. Didn't tell me he was going to do that. And and this is back when I was wrestling in socks. Taking a slam with socks on concrete. Ooh, I felt that on my ankles.
And our first match is going to be a barber. Everyone's a main event here today. The first one.
That's Chris Barger, everybody. Great ring announcer.
Is the former
and one half of the Rock and Roll Express.
Yep.
And their manager.
So we got the Super D's with Ref Ryan.
Hey guys, I'd like an interview with you if I might.
I think this is the match, Dave, where we did the switcheroo. Remember I told you one time we had one Super D go in for the other one and get the pin?
Well, we got many plans against.
Yeah, I think we do the switcheroo in this one with the Super Ds.
You think so? What about the interference of their manager and the complete disregard for the rules? Do you have
you know where we got the idea from?
Well, I think we do.
The Killer Bees?
Okay. What about
Fabulous ones.
Yeah.
They would do that as well. And they weren't twins, but they looked alike.
Right.
The ex-lightweight champions of the world, guaranteed that they're going to be fighting for that title to get it back. And now, ladies and gentlemen, entering the ring.
I'll tell you something. On a summer day like this, that mat got hot as hell. You could have fried an egg on that thing.
Yep. This is very.
We won't rub that in.
It's very true.
From Chicago, Illinois, weighing in at unknown.
Ice Dragon.
The Ice Dragon.
And the Fly, his
and
brother.
His tag team partner from Terre Haute, Indiana. No words needed to describe that. From Terre Haute, Indiana, the Fly. By the way, the Ice Dragon is the Indiana State Champion. And a very
them in their bathrobes.
Yep. Look at Chris, so arrogant.
They're going down. Oh.
The Ice Dragon.
Words of wisdom, the smartest thing that's ever come out of.
Give us some competition.
You know, Chris Downs, the Ice Dragon, the one in the blue, he was another one that was hard to handle. Like he had a little bit of a temper with other people back then. Like, you know, he had a hot fuse.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was sometimes kind of hard to handle.
The bell has been rung.
But he's since mellowed out.
Oh yeah, he's not like that anymore. But at this time, at this age, yeah, he was a little bit rough around the edges with people sometimes.
A lot of us were.
Yeah.
Super D number 1 for what? Boy, he's just carrying him around the ring, playing around with him.
But yeah, this is the first opportunity we got to be in this nice new professional ring, and we were all super excited. But look at how short. It's hard for like Todd and Troy to hit the ropes because they're so small. Like they're not even tall enough to go over the top rope, I don't think.
Super D number 1 getting back to his feet with
or barely.
To the midsection of the Ice Dragon.
So it's hard for them to hit the ropes, you know.
Now fist to the forehead.
Yeah, because they're
tagged in. What's this going to be now? Here comes
their heads like hitting the top rope as they're hitting the rope.
Takes him out now. Ice Dragon must think he's pretty tough. He
yeah.
Both up.
Wayne says, where was the camera set up? Here's a question. The camera's we're in my driveway, and our house is right there. So we had the camera up on the house roof, which had this beautiful bird's eye view.
You know, If you missed the match, he was
So it was a
attacked again
perfect
one again
angle.
and, injured his
And
right
so
arm.
that's where you put the
Kid,
camera.
you've been to the hospital now. How bad is
I
your
mean,
right
if you're
arm?
gonna have a single camera shot, this is the shot you want, really.
But it's broken. I will not be able to wrestle
You know,
up
especially
there.
at an angle like this. It's just a beautiful,
Not be able to
you know,
wrestle here. I
way
might
to
be
get
able to
all the
wrestle
action with one camera.
next television
Right.
taping, but that's still
You know, I'm
controversial.
watching their moves. Some of them are
Taylor,
sloppy.
Stevenson,
You know,
and
that wasn't
Butcher,
bad. But
You're dead
you
once I
know,
get back in the ring.
it's
Words
just
of Kid USA Kelsey.
everybody's
Meanwhile,
at a
the
different
referee way
level,
out of
right,
position,
Dave?
Right.
And Super D
As
rolled
far
out
as
of it, but he
If
was
I'm
made
technique.
for a
correct,
good
Kelsey
10
talking
seconds
about
while the
his arm
referee was
being
playing around with the
broken.
fly.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
fly
about how
lost the team
that
the
happened
match
on
by,
this
trying to
taping
come into the
actually
ring.
on the show before.
Now, and
You see, the ice dragon can't even pick up a little super.
Because and the real story was he was going to a hockey camp, and so
Right.
mom didn't want him wrestling at all, just in case he didn't want to risk him getting hurt
maybe
for the hockey
a
camp.
a neck breaker that
Yeah.
looked like. Now Dragon gets up. Dragon, what is he?
What the heck is Chris doing?
Dragon, now Super D trying to fight out of it. The Dragon's
I don't
still
think Chris
standing there.
knows what he's doing.
Dragon's still trying to fight out of it. Oh!
Yeah, that was just
And,
a
that
complete
hurt the
botch.
Super D, I do believe.
Yeah.
The Super D's giving up a lot in weight here, but they're not giving up anything in heart. In fact, I think they got more heart.
Make that up in speed, though.
And yeah,
Make that up in speed.
definitely. Now a big airplane spin by the Ice Dragon. He lets him go. This is the second time he had a possible pin, and he just let him go. And the tag
You know,
is
I
made.
sometimes
The
think
tag
Jay.
was
The only
made.
reason Jay was involved, I think, was because his brother
Super D
wanted
now
him
with-
to be.
Oh my gosh!
Yep.
A
So Chris
roundhouse
said somebody felt like he could trust.
Yeah,
Throws him in
and
the
not that
ropes.
Jay was bad or anything, but
A big one. Oh,
He
knee smash.
just,
By the mean machine.
for lack of a better way to put it, he didn't have the heart and the drive for it.
yeah, he just wasn't as hard. But look at that nice cartwheel, acrobatic for
That looks
kind of a.
It's kind of like Jerry Blackwell trying to do that.
Yeah, he's like not skinny, but he's not
Fly
fat
does
either.
not
You
have
know.
the build to be a
Right.
speedster. And the Dragon goes out of the ring. And the Super D's, being the gentlemen that they are. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Now Kelsey's trying to get in
Kelsey.
on this match. Kelsey, you're here as a ring attendant.
Kelsey is
and
trying
an
to give him
announcer.
advice.
You are not here to help the Super D's out.
And Chris called him out on it. You are not here to help the
The
Super
Dragon is
D's
gone.
out.
We don't see the Dragon anywhere.
Yeah, Kelsey trying to get involved with the match,
Oh, the
tell him
Dragon
what to
pulls up
do.
on the other side of the ring. He must have climbed
So I'm
up.
not saying anything, but
No, this is normal, guys. This is normal. This was the video went all snowy here. We still had audio. So instead of showing a bunch of snow, I just put black screen over it. This was happened
Wait a minute.
back in the day. We got this big snow spot for some reason when we filmed it. I don't know what happened. The camera messed up or something. But
Referee conferring. And meanwhile, we've got a battle going in on the ring.
but says a perfect time to take a question. Sports Talk says, Crusher, when you filmed this outside, did the kids in the audience get a chance to come in the ring after the show was over?
That's not right. Wait a minute.
Are you talking about the little kids that like over there from the neighbors watching?
And,
In the blanket on the yard? I don't know if they're there yet.
Wait a minute. No,
Gotta,
wait a minute.
when this
Now here
clears
comes
up,
Kid
I'll
USA
see them.
Kelsey with the
But
back.
no, we didn't let. They were really. These were like,
Little.
preschool kids, little
And
kids.
Kelsey,
Yeah.
you know, with that busted
I don't.
up arm.
It's still kind of dark,
Now
so I
watch
can't
behind him,
see
now Crossen
if they're
behaving
there.
around championship-like
I don't
manner.
see
But they
any.
would be.
Whack
There
Yeah,
you
they'd be in that where that tree is.
And now Rough Ryan
Right
on
in
the
that
fly.
area right there.
In
is
that
where-
area. I don't see
Well, it
them.
appears that
Right
order is
there
being restored to the
stayed.
ring.
Yeah,
The
they had a.
pair of
She set up a
winners are
blanket
the,
for
Ice
him.
Dragon and the Fly by count out. I'm sure the
No,
Super
they
D's
were
are gonna
too
have a lot to
little.
say about that one.
We can't help it.
But yeah, I don't know if you caught that, but the other Super D. Or no, I'm sorry, that didn't happen. The whole Super D switcheroo thing's happening on a later
Okay,
match
ladies
to
and
start
gentlemen,
this
we're
match.
back.
I got
And right now,
that wasn't this
we're going to
match.
talk with the somewhat
Somewhat
but
awkward.
still the champion, Crusher Crossen.
God, that was a nice belt.
Coming up
It's
on
the blue
tonight's
belt.
card, today's card, actually, we have a title match between.
God, I hate my
I have
interviews.
been going all over. I have been touring Europe.
See, I've been to Europe.
Australia,
Australia?
Japan,
Yeah, right.
Japan? See,
the
it's all
Cuban
documented.
Islands. I've even been in the USSR in parts.
USSR,
Time
it still
getting
existed.
out. I'll tell you, I've been all over defending this world title. And since November
over in Oak
16th
County.
of 85, these shoulders have not been down for a 3 count, and they will not go down. Today, I am going against one half of the World Tag Team Champions, Thandar, the Librarian. Thandar and myself and Conan are closely good friends outside the ring. But when it comes into the squared circle, it's a different story. Thandar, you're one half of the World Tag Team Champions. I am the World Champions. There's a difference there, and I'm going to explain that quickly. I wrestle singly. You need help with your partner. I have an advantage. Now, Thandar,
Eagle Clash happening already, huh, Dave?
The title is
Oh, yeah.
But if you can,
See, you're the one that instigated the ego clash.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie there. I'm not gonna deny that.
But coming up after this
You know,
next match,
so
most
everything
of
you
them-
get, you got coming.
And so, I imagine Hulk's going to break loose when we get in the ring with
You know, you want to
Me and Thandar
you
are
wanna
good
poke
friends,
bear.
along with Conan outside the ring, but that's okay too. It's coming up.
I mean, Tim was stronger than me. You know, he's stronger than just about everybody.
Oh, his whole family. If you knew the fam, you know, you knew a couple of his family members.
Crossen, the world's champion.
Yeah.
And gentlemen, without the
You know,
bit of music, we're going to go
I
with
knew
another
the
main
family.
match here on NWF Pro Wrestling, the best Minnesota has to offer. Entering the ring
They weren't
first,
people you wanted to
accompanied by
mess
his
with.
partner, one
Yeah.
half of the Mr. Nice Guys.
You know who else he didn't want to
Mr.
mess with was Troy
Macho
Steenerson.
from Minnesota.
Funny guy. Could make, you know, if you were his friend, he's
You do anything to make
do anything for you. Yeah.
Arrogant.
But
Oh,
if you didn't, you crossed him or you didn't know you.
Do you have anything
Look
to
out.
say before we get going? You have nothing to say
Yeah,
because
he
entering
could have
the
been.
ring
He was a
right
tough
now,
customer if he didn't know you.
One half or 1/3. Well, I don't know what he's a third of, but he is
You know,
Bulldog the Butcher.
At that point in time, well, not at this point in time, but like back in the later
Let's
80s,
go down to the ring.
Troy worked for his dad pulling apart scrap metal.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
not-
I used to help him do that. I think you did too.
Oh,
That
yeah.
was a little inadvertent. We didn't need the bell rung.
So this is Mr. Macho, very, very, and Mr. Destroyer with him, and according to the Mr. Nice Guys, this is still, they're still kind of new yet. They just joined the league about a month ago, about the same time you did.
That's a good point. The
Oh, I
Mr. Nice
joined in
Guys
May. If this
certainly
was
do not live
July,
up to their
they've been
name.
around for a month.
And a
Sports
big
Video
yellow
said,
on
Dave,
Bulldog
did
the
you
Butcher.
hear that? Crusher wrestled and won alone. He didn't need a partner to carry him. Did you hear
I
that?
wonder if the referee
Didn't need a partner to carry me.
elbow pads.
It's the only time you won a championship was when you had a partner.
Only time I was given the
Camera here,
chance.
as we always do on the NWF.
Oh, no, you had plenty of chances. You had a chance at the
Now
U.S.
we
title.
have, Mr. Nice
You
Guy
blew it.
bailing out. Mr. Macho leaves the
If I
ring.
remember correctly,
And now outside the ring they're going at it. What do we got?
was it Kelsey that I had the DQ win over due to outside interference?
Because your partner interfered, or Jamie McParlin, or
No.
whatever happened there, yeah.
No,
Now the Nice Guy
I got
takes
the
off his shirt,
victory.
Mr. Macho doing that.
I don't think there was outside interference because I didn't interfere. Who would have interfered for
Very
Kelsey?
confident, I might add. And now,
There
the
was,
other
I
Nice
remember
Guy,
it was
Crossen,
either
is working
Kelsey or
the-
Macho I
the
wrestled.
Bull- He's complaining that Bulldog Butcher
And
is
the
stalling
match
and sitting outside the ring, which may be the case, but
Ended
that's
in a
okay.
DQ.
The referee not counting, and watch out for the other Mr. Nice Guy coming up behind him.
And I think Kelsey
And now the action's
got
spilling
DQ'd,
onto
but I
the
don't think it
ringside
was for
table.
outside
Or
interference.
in the area, anyway.
Oh, that's
No.
interesting.
Pulls the referee out of the way.
See, those are actually
He's gonna
hockey
put
elbow
up with it.
pads
I don't
too.
believe it. And we got a possible
Um,
combination only a
Sports
count of
Talk said
one. A count of one and a count of one only.
this is
And, I
the
don't
first
know.
time I have seen one of your wrestlers
The,
wearing
Mr.
elbow
Macho doesn't
pads.
seem to take getting beat.
We all warm eventually. We learn pretty quick in this ring. You're gonna get elbow. You're gonna get mat burns and stuff on your elbows if you don't have them. So after a while, we all pretty much get elbow pads, unless you want to deal with mat burns.
A flying kick. I can't say a drop kick because it was only 1 foot in.
Hey, I know I was
Again, he's got his arms on the
one of
ropes.
them that had all the
Now, Mr.
gear.
Nice Guy
Yeah,
giving the
You
Mr.
know.
Macho an uncounted advantage.
but yeah, those are
In that,
hockey elbow
Bulldog
pads he's
has to
got
be a
on. That's
little
why
bit
they're so
distracted.
big.
And
Well,
now
that, and
Bulldog
let's be
is
honest,
suffering the
Macho
effects.
wasn't really
Now
that.
we've got Crusher
big.
Crossen coming into the ring. No, he elects not to say anything.
I mean, you honestly look at it,
He's just
that
watching
US
the
title
match a little bit more carefully.
looked gigantic on him.
Well, he made that belt big too.
Right.
Now outside
Yeah.
the ring again, more action.
We were heavily influenced on the AWA inmate belt.
Yeah, we've got referee.
You know,
The ring the bell, they say. That's a count.
but you're right into the ring post.
What was that, ref? Double DQ. Both men
Double
counted out of the
DQ.
ring on a double disqualification. And that's the end of the match.
Oh, Macho doing the Randy Macho Man Savage here, huh?
And you have no winner, ladies
Well,
and
he's
gentlemen.
almost going to anyway.
No winner. A double disqualification. Both Mr. Macho and Bulldog the Butcher counted out.
But what fun, Dave. What fun as kids back then. A nice sunny day in the summer. Let's put the ring up and shoot 4 episodes.
Yeah. You know.
Yeah, that was a hell of a time. I'd do anything to go back.
You know, we all loved that point in time.
We loved it too. All of us were diehards.
You know, people may bitch and moan about the next day, how they felt, but
Yeah.
So introducing first from
You know.
Chicago, Illinois, weighing in at
we all loved it so much it was
166 pounds,
even funny.
Thandar the Barbarian. And second is
Yeah, it's funny, Wayne. Yes, we did. Wayne's like, did you get cars driving past your ring really slowly? And even, sometimes you'll notice it. You'll even catch it on camera. But yeah, they would. They'd slow down and just kind of see what the heck's going on here.
Here he comes.
Yeah,
From
they did.
Venice Beach, California, weighing in at
Oh, this is the match. This is the one we've been talking about, where Eagles clash.
pounds. The world's
But you know,
heavyweight champion,
I can't duck.
Crusher
I mean,
Crossen.
you have to have. Yeah, I have to do this. I have to give Thandar a match, and I have to go toe to toe with him, and it's just,
Very confident Crusher
it's.
You know,
You have to do that.
I said confident.
he got to be big enough in the company where once you wrestled him,
On the line. Crusher versus Thandar
people would have
Barbarian.
said that
Let's
there
go
was
down to
something
the ring.
wrong.
Right. You know, you got to give these guys just he knows he's not going to win the belt, but he wants to have the opportunity to say he had a
Okay,
match.
and now Crossen
Right.
showing some
Yeah.
agility.
So yeah, so you know, we're both got egos the size bigger than anything here right now, bigger than the ring itself, both of us. And
speed there on the part of Crusher.
so this match is going to be as close to a Japan shoot as it gets, guys.
An arm drag, and he comes down on top.
The moves you see happening are happening with force.
He's gonna.
Yeah.
No, he's not gonna do anything because Crusher fights back with fists to the midsection. The referee being very lenient.
You
at
know,
this
when
point,
we're doing our forearms and stuff and like this, he slammed me. He didn't.
Looked like a combination suplex.
He has his flying shoulder. I think it's coming up here. And I don't sell this. I don't fake it. I just get knocked halfway over the cross the ring there.
Big shoulder block. No, wait a minute.
So you gotta.
For it.
Rolls him over.
Yep, and so you gotta just get physical with him back. Otherwise, if it's the way Thandar would fight you in the ring. You have to. He's getting physical, and he expects you
Now
to as
Crusher
well.
Using fists.
So that's what it is. Let's see. Damien says,
Crossen scoops up Thandar and body slams him. Kelsey in the corner.
"How old is this video? Do you see that car on the other side of the road from where you are filming?" Yeah, that car was Mike Bauer's car, one of the Ragnar Expresses. Nice dropkick.
Very popular champion.
So this was we were in 1986, July 9th, 1986. So
we want to keep opinions out of this, Mr. Fly.
that car over there is an old beater, though. It's probably from the 70s.
Barbarian trying to regain their senses. Barbarian
Mike's
backs
car
into
was
the
like
corner. That's gotta be a
late
reset. It
79,
was.
probably.
Crossen wisely backing out of that just in time.
You know, back then when you started driving, you didn't get a nice new car. You know, not in our neighborhood. I mean, you got a beater.
Now, Thandar getting ready to get after getting some.
See how I'm jumping and that's what I was telling Keaton. You know, there's ways to do the drop kick to get extra height. Use the ring. Use the ring to help get your leap.
Uses his advantage of strength to throw Crossen into the corner. Now Kelsey up on a ring apron. The referee should.
So yeah, so now that we had our little flurry of
Crossen's manager, there's no right
you know,
for a man
filling
to be
each
up on a
other
ring
out,
apron like that, especially when
now
he's
there's
wearing
just
some
going to
the
be
red
more
nose
of the
pants.
same.
And now he's wearing my
Trying to
pants.
hang on for dear life in some of these situations. I don't know what he's going to do.
He's gonna take him up. Oh, and Crossen
See,
holds
this is
on.
what I'm talking about. If we
No
just would have
shoulder block.
worked, we could have made this better,
And,
right?
Oh, yeah.
throwing a round kick.
Instead of actually being physical with each
And they're
other like
setting
we're
up
doing
again.
here.
And well, ladies and gentlemen, I personally.
Of course, you're sitting there going, "Hey, I'm the world champion. Do what I say." And Jim's saying, "Screw you."
Yep.
Is wearing my
But
pants.
yeah, he's just a big, strong ox, and
Please edit this. I'm
you
kidding.
know
but
you
there's
have to
no
get
right be
physical
wearing
with
my
him.
pants.
Otherwise, he'll walk all over you if you don't.
Yep.
Barbarian and Crossen feeling each other out again.
Are we going to see the Crusher flying dropkick in the match? Well, we seen it early, just a bit ago there, Sky Sports. I don't know if you caught it.
Using fists on the
I don't know if I do it again, but I did have one in there. Hammerlock.
Now what is this going to be? And it trips him up. Barbarian goes down.
Yeah, that's not like I didn't say like, hey, I'm gonna trip you. I just tripped him.
The Barbarians have had a switch in ideology, if you want to call it that.
So it's kind of a, I don't know. It's a Japan style match, is what it is. It's kind of a rough,
Thandar's angry, throws Crossen into the ropes, comes up, oh, and he ducks under.
working but not working.
Barbarian waiting wisely for him. Kelsey yelling encouragement.
As the time limit starts running out on us, we both start trying to really win, and we keep going back and forth. And that's what people are really entertained with when they watched it on cable. I remember having friends telling me that that was such a good match. They thought it was so good. They have no idea of how rough it was getting with us. Or maybe they did. I don't know.
But what is it going to be? Is it going to be a combination? It is. No, he blocks the suplex.
But you can see there's just a lot of blocks. We block each other, and this is just the physicalness of Tim.
Okay, now what is
Tim was just like, okay, you don't want to work with me? I'll just fall on you.
Well, it's not like I'm not working with him. He's not working with me. It's both. It's not me. It's not a one-sided thing, Dave. That's what I'm saying. Our egos were clashing.
Like I said, you started it.
And not why with comments. That's just a promo. No, it was. Tim was always like that, though. He was rough, and if you get rough with him, then it just keeps going back and forth.
My gosh. Now elbow, he's twisting it up, and knee lift into the gut, and another one into the chest. The fans,
that's Terry Block telling him to press me.
Very popular as well as Crusher. Into the corner.
And for some reason, Tim didn't press me.
Knee lift into the kidneys or so.
Like he goes to press me here, but he doesn't. He doesn't get. I don't know if he couldn't do it or what. What the hell he's doing here?
He presses the champion. Oh my!
But I had no trouble with him doing a press slam. He just didn't get me up for some reason.
5 miles away in Elk River.
In Elk River, that's the town north of us.
Setting him up. And a big
I told him to do it again, and he just did a regular slam.
Now the Barbarian, I don't understand this tactic. Going over to talk it over with Conan. He had Crusher down for the count, I think. But he waited, and he may have given Crusher Crossen all the time he needed.
Yeah, Sports Video, those knees were direct knees. I mean,
oh my, and Thandar thinking about it. Crusher, no, and he's a legal shot.
Like I said, Dave's one of the only ones I know of that said that the match was easy with Thandar. Everybody that wrestled Tim would tell you the same. Because I used to hear it. They would. It's not that they complain, but guys would bicker about it to me, afterwards.
They'd hear that they were wrestling the Barbarians, and they'd be like, "Oh, great!"
But it was their gimmick, Dave. They were rough. They were like Road Warrior style gimmick.
And we're right near the time limit on this match. No, don't. And in the corner, and he goes for a clothesline and Crossen ducks, and he's very pleased with himself over that. 1 minute.
And Wayne says, so now we're getting down to a minute. It's going to even heat up even more. If you thought it wasn't heated up already, wait till you see how this last few minutes go.
Back body drop, and that's a big one. Kelsey calling for a pin. That's going to be a little hard to do. Oh, and a skillful duck under by Thandar.
Didn't communicate that right, whatever we did.
We've got about 45 seconds left in this match. No, 45 to 10 in 5 seconds, huh? Throws him into the ropes. What's he gonna? And he moves out of the turnbuckle. We got 30 seconds. We've got 15 seconds.
15 seconds.
We got 10 seconds. You can hear the fans counting it down. And he misses a drop.
He misses, drops, lands on him.
We could have a new champion.
4, 3.
It's just sloppy finish. That's what that was.
This is not very sportsmanlike behavior on the part of the Barbarian.
And these are just real. We're just hitting each other.
I don't like the way Conan's getting up on the ring apron. The Barbarian, the bell is being ringed.
The best thing I can do is just put him in a headlock until he calms down.
And the referee trying hard to maintain order. He's not having much success.
And then get out of the ring.
And now Chelsea leaving the ring.
You
have no winner. A time limit draw.
Yeah, that was rough.
World world's heavyweight champion, Crossen, and the challenger, part of the world's
Wayne says this match with
Thandar,
your watch along would do great on the YouTube show Wrestling Gets Real.
Match, we're gonna have an interview with the Barbarians, and specifically Thandar the Barbarian.
Yeah, because Wayne says they do matches, they do videos of matches that turn into shoots. Yeah. Yeah, that's what that was.
I need a partner. You say I need help. Well, where was my help there? You couldn't get my shoulder.
Tim could do a good interview.
I might not have been able to get yours then, but it'll come. Your style's okay.
But that's it. You get his respect afterwards.
I might be bigger
You
and I
know?
might tire out a lot faster. But hey, I went the limit with you, and you would have been down if I would have had at least 3 more seconds.
Okay, can you please explain one thing for the fans? Why the turnaround? All of a sudden, you're acting much more civilized, and you're hanging around with fan favorites like Crossen. Why?
That won't be told.
So those secrets, little plan we have, you'll all find out in the meantime.
Very secretive.
Thandar! Get back here.
No, wait a minute. We've got.
Uh-oh, we're not done, Dave.
No, the hands will be shaken.
That was a good match. It went to the time limit. Neither men came to victory. Next week I'm against Ice Dragon. That's all my concentration is on.
Ice Dragon, huh?
Crossen. Okay, we've got matches coming up. Ladies
Yeah,
and
that's
gentlemen.
just it though. After you get done with a match like that, then Tim has there's a sense of respect from both of us. Like I respected him more, he respected me more from that day
And now
forward.
we've got the
Yep.
self-named dream team, the Ice Dragon and the Fly.
Gizmo
One
says
from Chicago, Illinois, the other from
Crusher, was the Barbarian stronger than you at the time of this match? Oh hell yeah.
What are your plans for the future?
Yes, for
I
sure.
want to tell you one thing, boy.
He was bigger, he was stronger.
Old, lanky, skinny dude, but he
What's your
was.
excuse? Fly?
I mean, the only thing that kept me competitive was I could physically wrestle with him, and I could stay toe to toe that way.
Yeah.
But then, like, if it was a fight, I wouldn't have a chance.
We
No.
are going to become the 6-man tag team champs. And
With who?
With our partner, Dr. Destruction. But I want to tell you one thing. At the Armory, we go against the Rack and Roll Express.
that roundabout, you better watch your step. And we can't help it that we're the greatest.
Yeah, it's not our fault. We're the greatest wrestlers in the world. And you're ugly, boy.
Uh-oh, the Barbarian's coming in.
Well, the Barbarians are back, and they want something to say.
Listen here, Ice Dragon.
Ice Dragon.
Don't look at me when I'm talking to you.
I'm gonna.
I want you in the ring, boy. I'm gonna pound your little face in. And then I'm gonna take your partner there.
Jerry may seem soft spoken, but
He could definitely go with you toe to toe if he wanted to.
oh yeah.
Look at them. Look at this. Feminine.
Well,
Ended up going into the Marines.
I think that he just asked me out on a date. I'm not sure, but
you know, former Marine, former police officer.
You know why? She was good last night.
she was good.
He was very easy to work with in the ring, though, like super smooth. But yeah, he could definitely be a tough if he needed to. he's one of those subtle nice guys that could be strong as hell if he needed to be.
And their
He's a nice guy that you don't want to cross.
Yeah.
entering the arena area.
Mr. Destroyer, Dominic Dewis. Well, it's the Mr. Nice Guys. It's the tag team. Against Invader 1 and Rough Ryan. This is where we're going to see some amazing super kicks, you guys, by the guy in the yellow shorts. I'll point him out when he does them, but they're really sweet looking. He was the best at it. The best. And Dave, you gotta remember though, back then, the super kicks were very few and far between. It wasn't like it is today where like they overdo it, right?
Yeah.
Like, super kicks didn't always happen, and especially the flying ones like Terry does.
Is out here.
Yeah, I mean, you think back in '86, you had Chris Adams throwing super kicks,
Yep.
and
Here goes the Nice Guys right away, going after Invader number 1.
you had Asian wrestlers throwing super kicks.
Right, but in the United States, it just wasn't very seen much, right?
Right.
believe it or not.
So for Terry to be innovative like that was pretty good. I mean, he was cutting edge at the time. I'm talking about Invader 1, Terry Block.
Yeah. Well, we won't comment
But,
on the bravery of the Mr. Nice Guys because this is
you know, and of course,
objective commentary here. Oh, and he caught the
Mr. Nice Guys, Mr. Macho, Mr. Destroyer, they're still fairly new here. Like I said, they're still kind of learning themselves. Where Terry's got a bit more experience.
Right.
And Rough Ryan as well, for that matter.
And I don't know what's going on, but
it's kind of a communication error there. I'm going to do a suplex, maybe?
Language, ladies and gentlemen.
Whoa! Kind of an awkward landing.
Destruction or Dr. Destruction, whoever he is still a big neck breaker.
Still getting used to that ring, I'd say.
Tags out to Rough Ryan, and he's just right back where they started from. And a kick from Invader 1 bails him out. And a big.
You can hear Kelsey trying to give him direction, tell him to drop kick him.
I talk goodly. Okay.
Older brother trying to help his younger brother out.
Yep.
Now Mr. Macho throws him into the
if I remember correctly.
But with guys like Ryan, you gotta work with them. You know, you gotta give and take. You gotta sell for them because they're not gonna be as you know. I knew how to have good matches with guys like Rough Ryan because I knew what their limits were. Where this is something that like Macho's struggling with because he just doesn't know what to do.
Or knee pads like
you know.
Invader 1's wearing.
You know, it seemed like Macho didn't know what to do, but Dominic has more of an idea of, you know, work with them.
Right. Adding his unique perspective to the commentary about the elbow pads of the Nice Guys. Rough Ryan climbs back.
Kelsey's pointing out their hockey elbow pads, right?
Yeah. And a big foot.
All right, we're gonna see some of those super kicks. I think one right here. Boom! Got him, beautiful.
Sweet, but then, interference
just
from
right
Mr.
under the
Macho,
chin.
Who's not so macho.
Now, you might think he kicked him, but he didn't touch him, according to Dom. And I've talked to Dom about this match in particular, and he said he never got touched on any of the super kicks he gets in this match. And Terry's going to throw another one at him a little bit later here, where it looks like he just nailed him as well. Terry was good at it. He was damn good at that flying super kick.
Mr. Macho comes in and bites the super kick right to the midsection. Now Rough Ryan comes in. Rough Ryan coming in. The fans calling for a drop kick. And the Nice Guys still taking on the smaller guys. An atomic drop.
Atomic drop.
And he caught his chin. That had
it's a move we don't see anymore.
Nope. Very rarely.
Now,
Wayne, why is the atomic drop no longer? I mean, you watch all that indie stuff.
Now let's see what do we got.
You think that would still be viable?
He's throwing him into the ropes. Comes off. Double back body drop. That's
back
a
body drop.
The Rock and Roll Express, but that's a Rock and Roll Express. Sorry.
There's that other super kick, straight to the side.
That is one thing I will say. The Rock and Roll Express had better cohesion than the Mystery
anything else. And now we got some action going on in the
there's a reverse atomic drop right to the knees.
Kelsey, who's,
well, in other parts.
And we have,
so Wayne says it's just not a cool move.
A lot of action going on in the corner of Invader number 1 and Rough Ryan.
I suppose.
Okay,
some form of a kick.
We got some interesting developments to tell you about.
Well, if I remember, wasn't Nick also studying
karate?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was.
Held in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, on July 2nd, 19.
I mean, it's kind of a mismatch, really, though. Invader 1 and Rough Ryan, the smaller guys, going against these guys.
Sergeant Smash and the Iran Sheik.
Somewhat of a drop kick.
Despite heavy interference from the Sheik and his army, the referee failed to disqualify him. And Sergeant Smash
unless you have Rick Rude. So what does he mean by this, Dave? Unless you have Rick Rude selling the atomic drop?
He has to leave the NWF.
Oh, Rick Rude is notorious for selling atomic drops hilariously.
And Sergeant Smash, as we're watching this match right now, your final NWF interview.
You know, Rick Rude was always supposed to be the playboy type, and
there's nothing he'd like to say. He just turned around.
You know, he'd take an atomic drop and just be like, his night was ruined.
I have heard about Rick Rude though. Like as far as behind the scenes, he was an a-hole. Like, he wasn't a nice guy.
And now he's setting him
Like,
up. And he ducked under
that's
and
what I've
over
heard
to
from a
the
lot
top
of people
rope.
anyway.
There's a count, 1, 2, and he gets his foot on the ropes.
Damien says,
Wait a minute.
these little guys put on a great show, even though they are young and they sell their moves really well. You can't help but root for them. Yeah, they're definitely the underdogs here because they're smaller.
I can tell because I don't know what's going on
You know,
inside
and
that ring.
Terry was just a good hand in the ring. You could do a lot with him, but
Yeah.
Big suplex.
sometimes these guys like that, Nick completely botched that suit. I'm looking at this all with 2020 vision right now, Dave, and that's not fair to all of us because we were what we were back then, you know.
No tag made, the referee says.
You know, we're a lot better than we were in
drop kick square to the face.
in Group W Studio.
Oh yeah.
But we're not quite to October 18th, are we?
Yeah, we're still kind of developing, even at this point in time, we're not quite
I don't know
crisp.
where you're getting your sources
Yeah.
from. I have
And some people were better than others, obviously.
Yeah.
First thing off, I didn't lose no
There's always that too.
Oh, time for Crossen to get his job for tomorrow.
No, I've got the job. It's just at 8 o'clock. They always send you a reminder.
Ah.
That's all that is.
Nothing, do you? Ha!
What do you mean 8 o'clock? It's 9 o'clock.
8 o'clock here.
Doing his normal Sergeant Smash, but that's okay.
So yeah.
Now, while we were talking to Sergeant Smash, the momentum has changed.
Or DDT, it looked like he did.
Ropes, Dr. Destruction. No, it is Dr. Destruction.
This is July 9th, so we're probably a couple weeks away from the July 26th Armory card.
Right. So at this point in time,
Got 1 minute left. Now wait a minute.
Invader 1 is one half the National Tag Team Champions.
And he's getting in a pushing match that's not advisable with the broken arm of Kid USA Kelsey.
And this was our first taping in like a month because we Scott Tronson suspended us for saying we advertised on the last show.
Right.
So this is the first time I got the suspension lifted by going to the Cable Commission and down in the City Hall. They lifted it.
Yep.
And so we're finally able to get the camera. But man, I couldn't get the show on in time to advertise the event. So 'cause he suspended us for a month.
15 seconds, hoist him up
Crazy.
again.
13.
Oh, here's a Super Mario's plush 2006. Can't remember, Dave. Did we have this? I don't know if this is a new commenter, but he says NWF still amazes me. The fact that a bunch of kids managed to pull pretty decent crowds and have a whole ring and fed is still pretty crazy, especially since this is pre-internet. Yeah, and pre-backyard. You know, really, like about 10 years before backyard wrestling surfaced, right?
This is happening in Crusher's front yard, but
yeah.
That's
cool. I'm glad we got a new commenter. Great to see you in here.
Welcome in. Hopefully you come back for more.
And right now we've got
Yeah, you got to put it in perspective. As far as time frame, this is 1986. You know, so when you look at it along those lines.
Second Super D number 2.
I just wish we were, you know, Dave and I watch this stuff now and we're like, God, man, we should be a little more technical here. We could be better with the camera. We could be better with the interviews. We could be better with the wrestling. But it is what it is, you know.
That's on mic.
Okay.
Just like that little chatter off the mic. Just little things, you know.
Duluth, Minnesota.
Yeah.
He weighs in at
Sergeant Smash.
119 pounds.
Kind of sour grapes because he didn't get it in the Hall of Fame.
108.
Well, sorry, Smash, but you know it's all about promoting yourself.
And you're not going to get too far just criticizing the whole league because you don't get in.
And you're not going to get very far by saying that it's a joke.
Yeah. You start talking. If you start talking negatively, like uneducated fans, you're not going to get very far.
You know, Smash, a little bit of advice. You know, yeah, I know that you were in the league before me, but there's a time for shoots and there's a time not to shoot.
I love listening to Dave school Smash on this stuff because it's true what he's saying. You gotta love it.
You know, I mean, sorry, but I went into the Hall of Fame I went into competition just as you did,
Yeah.
not expecting to win.
And the thing is, I've offered Chris Hansen the opportunity to come on here as a guest, with us and stuff, and just never wants to. I think he's kind of mad just because he wanted to do a podcast with me way back when, and I ended up doing one with Dave.
Knee to the back.
Little behind the curtain talk there, right?
Well, I mean, if I can for a minute, let Professor Dixie Dave out a little bit here. Smash, talking directly to you, Chris.
Picks him up again.
You cannot treat the company as a joke like you do.
Throws him into the ropes.
And expect to get anywhere.
Very true. And and here's the thing that's funny, Dave. There's just a couple people like Smash that have that attitude. Out of all the guys, you're gonna have guys like that, I guess, right?
I mean, I was willing to come into this and treat it with respect.
Yeah.
I mean, heck, if not for me, Crusher wouldn't have any of his championship.
Well, I think honestly, I think people like Smash. I think there was a time where he expected me to just let him in to the Hall of Fame. But you know how I feel about that. I want the fans to decide that stuff, not me.
And I'm going to let out a little more behind the curtain talk. I'm going to go babyface here a little bit. Smash has gone as far as to say our process for inducting you into the Hall of Fame is a joke.
Yeah, because we just don't decide.
Running smash.
Okay.
Running body slam, excuse me. 2 count.
Full honesty.
By Sergeant Smash on Super D number
1. Okay, I'm one of the behind-the-scenes people in all this.
Shoulder block almost.
Many conversations with Crusher. I didn't know I was in the Hall of Fame until my picture popped up on the screen.
Yeah. I didn't even tell Dave.
Goes up against both throws. Comes up. Body
splash. All he told me is, because I'll admit, I was trying to get people to vote for more than
He's not just saying that, guys. I didn't tell him.
I was trying to get people to vote more for the underdogs, so to speak,
into the turnbuckle
in the Hall of Fame this year.
The avalanche.
And the closest thing that Crusher would tell me is, hey, I can tell who you're having people vote for.
2 3/4.
You might want to back off a little bit. You might not make it.
Yeah.
2 3/4.
So before these comments rolls away, let me just get these in here. So, Sports Video says, did you guys ever get the cops called on you by some Karen who didn't like what you were doing? Old Man Tronson doesn't count. No, nobody called. I think I told the cops story, though. We had one time the cops called on me, but it wasn't a Karen. It was my mom. Because me and Steve were out in the garage pounding away on lumber and saws and everything, trying to fix the ring up. Our wooden garage ring that we had about a year before this taping. And we were making so much noise towards the midnight, and she was afraid neighbors were going to say something, so she wanted us to stop, and I wouldn't. And so I said, no, we got to get this done. We're going to keep going. So she called the cops. They made us stop. They made Steve go home. No, nobody out. Like the neighbors here, Mrs. Gardner next door, she brought a blanket out for the kids to watch. Millard's on the other side of me, they knew what I was doing. The Carlson's across the street, yeah, they all knew my thing. So they just said, oh, that's just Sean doing his wrestling show.
To my best of my knowledge, it did not look like.
Yeah. Plus, back in the day, we really didn't have the Karens.
Yeah. No, there wasn't.
Cheap shots. Your winners, the former light tag team champions.
Did you see how the Super D's switched out? The one came in for the other. They got the pin. That was the switcheroo deal they did.
Yep.
They were twins, so we had to do that.
National title championship match between
so Super Mario Plush says, been a long time viewer since 2018 when I first saw the Wrestling with Regret video. Oh, the Brian Zane thing. Okay. Pretty sure this is my first time tuning into the stream, though. Yeah, we had Brian Zane as a guest. He came on with us as a guest.
Yep.
Gosh, was it last year?
Had to have been.
Yeah, and he normally doesn't do those kind of things, but he felt he needed to pay us some love for what we did for his channel, because he said that whole Old Man Tronson thing just took off for him and really helped elevate his channel at the time. It was like his third show.
Yep.
So he's very we've had a really good relationship since then. Me and Brian, I still stay in touch with him. And then Gizmo says, back in the day, you have to suspend wrestlers or remove them from the company for something they did. Yeah, I did. I would suspend. We would do. Our suspensions were for disciplinary reasons. Ice Dragon got suspended shortly after this and missed the whole October card.
And that's how I walked into my national tag team title shot.
And that was from getting into beefs with other guys outside the ring. And I knew what everybody wanted. They wanted to be in the league. They wanted to be on the big cards at the Armory. So what's the best way to do disciplinary action? Suspend them from not being able to take part in it.
Ice Dragon being suspended is how this came into my possession.
And now what do we got? We got...
Yeah, it would have been the Ice Dragon and Dr. Destruction against the Invaders. So this is Kid Kelsey against Pretty Boy Taylor, Steve Engstrom, the best bumper we ever had.
And if I'm correct, it's for the national heavyweight title.
Yes, national title match here. Now, Kelsey wasn't the best at bumping, but he had a great character, great charisma in the ring. So, he was pretty good. And Steve, of course, could make anybody look good in that ring.
Up outside the ring.
Yeah, he's getting on Steve's case because we're running out of time. So, you hear me go, Steve, come on, because he's clowning around outside the ring. I wanted to get this match done. Now they cleaned up all the audio. You can hear all that chatter outside now.
Throws Taylor back into the corner.
When we restore this, we restore not only the video, we restore the audio too. It's a good match, though. And I always said, you're in the ring with Steve, you're gonna have a good match. Or did he? You would be in the exception, Dave, but
yeah.
And throws Kelsey into the ropes, coming off Taylor, down, up and over.
Yep, this match, sorry about all the racket, but is for this title.
Yep, the national title.
Goes up for a slam on Kid
See, you heard me. That was me going slam him hard, because I wanted Kelsey to take more bumps like that to get used to being bumping, to get him over that fear factor he always seemed to have. That's the only reason. That's the only reason, Matt, I was pushing for that. I just wanted you to I wanted to toughen you up a little bit with that. You got to remember, our training was these shows.
Right.
We didn't have ring time. Very little ring time, I should say.
And that hurts. Believe me, ladies and gentlemen, that is... it's a dangerous move.
If anyone should have been in the Hall of Fame, it should have been Old Man Tronson. Yeah, I'd love to get him to come on and talk to us. He's never been interested. I tried to get him to come on the documentary back in the day, and he just wasn't interested. But I'd love to have a conversation.
I mean, come on, Crusher. You made him look like a fool back in the day. Why is he going to want to come on the show now?
Right, and like Sports Talk's asking right here, did I ever go back and talk to Old Man Tronson as I got older? And if you did he dislike your company? The only time I ever reached out to him was when we did the documentary 20 years ago, and he just wasn't interested. So I don't think he disliked me or anything. He just wasn't not interested in wanting to really do any interview or anything about it. And that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But I tried to get him.
It's just like right
there.
now.
See, look at you. See the kids, Dave, outside the ring. There's all the little kids on the blanket watching. You can kind of see them anyway. They're under the tree.
Yep.
Count of three. We have a new national. Does it stand? Is it official?
Now watch this. This is great. Kelsey wins. Look at Steenerson come in to shake his hand.
Yes, it is.
Look at. And then he Pearl Harbors him. I love it. This is total 80s, right? Total 80s style.
Yep.
And now they're going to triple team him.
I don't
This is all planned because Kelsey had to break. We had to break Kelsey's arm. Watch how Steve does it. It's really good too. He made it look so convincing. Right here, watch Steve.
Help, ladies and gentlemen, for Kid USA Kelsey. Oh my! Look at
Oh, that was good.
oh my God!
So yeah, I had to break his arm because he could not take part in this armory card coming up. So
what are they gonna do to him? Oh, and they split him apart.
The wishbone.
yeah, the wishbone comes Crusher Crossen.
Help things out, and he's had a feud with Taylor.
I don't know about my drop kick. I think I do one here actually.
But they're working on that.
God, I love doing that drop kick. That's my favorite move.
Smash coming in, but he gets out real fast.
I think I slammed Steve outside in the grass there too. I don't know if the camera catches it.
Help! The referee has signaled for the bell.
You know, yeah, like Super Mario Plush says, all jokes aside, I'm pretty sure Crossen is arguably the most popular guy in NWF, and he never even appeared. Yeah, he would have been a great heel. God, he would have been a great heel. You know who he was like, Dave? He was like, Harry Potter movies, Professor Snape.
Yeah.
That is Scott Crossen. That was the way he was. That kind of attitude that he had in that movie, that was him. Looks like him even.
I think we're gonna have an interview.
Yeah. What were you gonna say?
I'd like to interview.
Well, what I was going to say is, we have opened the door to anybody who wants to come on the show.
Yep.
And if people choose not to want to come on, so be it.
Yeah. True.
I mean, love to have Steenerson on here.
Yeah, Steenerson knows he's welcome to come on here. We got to get Angie to push him on, get him on here.
Yep.
Angie's his wife.
You have to abide by all rules.
Steve could do a good promo too.
I mean, heck, after everything that's gone on, we've had Pretty Boy on here. We invited him on a second time to push for his
couple second times actually.
But he got his one run on here. He was happy with that and never came back.
Yeah.
Read this.
That's his prerogative.
It states in black and white.
It's the rule book. I'm telling Steve he's got to follow the rules.
If I may,
these rules don't mean
Whoops.
Edit this, please. Or beep it out. One of these.
Yeah, Crossen, if we actually swore, Crossen would suspend us.
And nobody takes it away from me. Kelsey, you may own it. But come do the armory. You're going to get a brutal beating.
But this is what our shows were all about. We're building up our big armory events. So every show was always promoting the card. So
national champion, Kid USA Kelsey. I'd shake your hand, but it's broken, so I'll shake the other one.
Yeah, there's that belt, Dave, that you just showed.
They were wondering just exactly how badly injured is your left arm. No, your right arm.
I'll be going to the hospital pretty soon in a couple minutes after this interview to see. The doctor said it's probably fractured. And Taylor, you mentioned the armory. Well, thanks to you, Taylor.
Steve really sold that well on how he broke his arm.
Yeah.
It was a perfect way to do it.
To be sure, but a week or 2 weeks after, I'll be able to wrestle.
I mean, Kelsey sold it well. Steve delivered it good.
Yeah.
That's something we've never seen before.
Yeah, we always wanted to do cage matches. We just didn't realize how damn expensive it would be to build a cage.
It will be coming. I don't care if we have to spend $1,000 to get a cage in this ring. We will do it.
Trouble is, it costs us about $2 to $3 grand to build a cage. It was expensive. Fencing was not cheap.
James W. Wilson about getting that cage.
And I had a neighbor who did fencing, who I probably could have got a deal on the material and stuff, but it's a little bit out of our price range.
I'm going to say one more thing to Hansen here.
You're still on Chris Hansen?
Well, I just got thinking about something, with me showing the titles.
Yeah.
If not for the respect I have coming from Crusher, I wouldn't have these titles in the house. Due to the respect that I showed of the program. But I have them. So, Hansen, you want to treat the show like a joke, you don't get perks like I get. There's very few people that have any of the NWF titles.
And Steve, the guys, out of all the probably 100 kids that came to the show, I can count in one hand how many people feel like Chris does, as far as it's a joke. Yeah, so it's not a very, what I'm trying to say is it's a very limited club.
Right.
You know. That's why I'm like, you're still on him?
Well, you know,
most of the guys are pretty, I mean, they first of all, they love the fact that we do this show so they can watch their old stuff again. And they just love seeing everything again and being able to relive their history, really.
Right.
And that's what, you know, that's what people got to remember, at least for us. Here's this comment from Sports Video. He says, Crusher, your drop kick is still so much better than Ricky's is today. Thank you, Sports Video. Did you hear that, Canary? I got to say, though, Canary Kid's drop kick has gotten really good, though. It's getting better than what it was when I first saw it. But yeah, and it's good. It's not bad. But you know something? If you're going to try to top Crusher on the drop kick, you're going to have to wake up pretty early in the morning to do that one. I can brag. I'm not going to brag about much, but I will brag about the drop kick because I spent a lot of time on that thing to make mine look good. And it's not, especially in the 80s, not everybody was good at it.
Well, you know, I do have to say, in the 80s, one of the best drop kicks was a Brunzell drop kick.
Oh, for sure. Yep. He was the one I looked up to try to do. I mean, I learned it. You know, Jim Brunzell. I'm trying to think who else had a good drop kick back then. Brunzell for damn sure, though.
Pillman.
Who?
Brian Pillman.
Pillman, yeah. But Brunzell's form was just so good. I mean, what I took from Brunzell is always keeping my feet clasped together tight, so that when I did my turn, my feet were always locked. Right? That's what Jim Brunzell was a master at when he did his drop kick. Compared to Greg Gagne, who did this sloppy ass looking drop kick.
You know, one foot would hit, and
Yeah.
Near the chest. The other foot would hit near the groin.
Yeah, and his feet were always apart. And just sorry, Greg, I just wasn't a fan of it. But Ricky tells me, doing one-legged drop kicks is a thing, but I'd never do one. I mean, if you ever see me do a one-legged drop kick, it was a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
Super Mario says this. I haven't even read it yet. Let's see what he says. I am picturing Tronson being a heel authority figure on the show, interfering and maybe having a group of heel wrestlers as the henchmen. You know what I see him as? If I was going to do a Scott Tronson angle on the show, he'd be like the kind of the promoter Vince McMahon guy. He'd be the one that would kind of be like, maybe he's in charge of the cable company, so he has authority over the show. And I would bring in the reality of what he's doing and make it part of the show. In
other words, for more recent wrestling fans, more the Don Callis.
Yeah. Just, and then just, and just, because, I'm a big fan of the whole Mr. McMahon thing. I thought I can't stand Vince. I never did like him. It's just the reality. And I'm not just because of recent news. I just never was a fan of Vince. But when he became Mr. McMahon, I thought that was brilliant.
Yep.
So, just to get Scott to do the same kind of thing with us. And that's how I would do it. I would do Scott like that. And then just integrate him right into the show that way. And we could have so much fun with that. And Scott just has to be himself. That's all he has to do. So Damien says, Crusher, he says, did any of your drop kicks ever actually connect to anyone by mistake or not? Well, apparently,
depends who you ask. I know where you're heading with this.
Nobody's ever complained. I normally would hit people where you're supposed to, which is the chest. You're not supposed to hit them in the face. People do, but Eddie Sharkey is always, what I remember from his training camp, is always hit him here, right? Upper chest. So that's how I always tried to aim. Now, Kelsey, when I did one of my flying drop kicks, so in other words, when I do a flying drop kick, I throw you in the ropes, I back against the ropes, we come running and meet, right?
Yep.
So I got up and I got perfect form and I hit him didn't hit him here. I actually got him right under the chin, and I tapped him, but I didn't hit him hard. But Kelsey claims now that I dislocated his jaw. Now I never heard that at the time. No, if that happened, he kept it a secret.
Yep.
But apparently he said that his jaw got dislocated. Apparently. So I don't know. We'll have to see if Matt can clarify that. But I'm not calling him a liar. I'm just saying. I was pretty good at not, but when it came to the drop kick, I wasn't. Yeah, I wasn't gonna, But the only reason I say that I kind of could maybe see it is because Kelsey was always afraid. Whenever I drop kick Matt in any kind of practice session we had or whatever, I'm preparing for that show that this happened on. When I go to do my drop kick, he'd always back away and I'd miss him, right? I'm like, Matt, stop backing away, right? Just don't worry, I'm not going to hurt you. Well, when we got to the match, I kind of figured he's going to back away, so I'm going to compensate. Well, he didn't back away, and that's how I got close to him like I did. But so I can see where maybe I did get him in the chin, and maybe he did hurt, but I don't know if I actually outright dislocated his jaw. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, if I'm correct, if you dislocated his jaw, he'd have to have his mouth wired shut.
Right, and that never happened. He was wrestling the next month at the dry dock.
Henceforth, we called it right there.
Yeah. But it's one of those, like Ricky says, it's one of those good stories that you can have 20 years later that wrestlers seem to get, right?
Oh, the stories.
It's just a great talking point. But no, that's one thing I'll probably work on with the kids when I get out to Ireland, when I go out there to take a special guest. By the way, everybody, I just want everybody to know, this is going to be huge. It's the NWF's, make this a little bigger so you can see it, but for the first time in almost 40 years, the NWF title is on the line again. The Canary Kid and Ben Nelson are going to fight it out, and we're going to have another NWF champion for the first time over in Northern Ireland, and yours truly will be special guest referee. The 40th anniversary championship match, that's what we're calling it, June 1st. And guys, I know Gizmo said you wish you could be there to see it. It'd make a great trip to go to Ireland. They still have, I think, 12. Oh, wait, that's for the card coming up. They have 12 tickets left. The tickets haven't even went on sale for this one yet. So you have a chance to see this live. It would make a great little vacation.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's going to be a fun one.
I'll talk to you about off air.
Yeah.
That maybe you could talk to everybody over there about.
Okay. But yeah, because when I get over there, in addition to guest refereeing, I'm going to do a seminar with their kids class. Because I don't know what I can tell the adults, but I mean, the kids, I can definitely, go over some things, and I'll definitely work on the drop kick with them. I'm going to kind of show them how I would train the kids back in the day on how to do a drop kick. I had a little method to my madness, because every kid has the same problem. When you first start trying to do the drop kick, Dave, the drop kick is two things, right? There's the jump and then there's the kick. And what everybody struggled with, what I noticed, they're afraid to make that jump. They're afraid to get up and get horizontal. Because I guess they're afraid of the landing maybe, or, of the fall that's going to happen afterwards. So getting them to get up and get horizontal. So, and I don't want to give away all my secrets, but when I get in there with these kids, I'll go over on how I do this. And I have a little kind of a system to get them. First of all, you got to break that. You got to get over that. You got to get your feet up. So I work on getting them to get horizontal. The kick, because if you can't get horizontal and get up and get the jump down, the kick is pointless.
Right.
So you got to get the jump down. So that's what I'd evaluate them, see where they're at, and then see where they need the work. And I have a feeling it's probably the jump that they're struggling with. So we'll see where they're at. But yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to all this. And I think Darren will be there, Keaton's dad, at the training, so I'll have him record everything so we can show you highlights of my sessions with him and stuff. So it's the only time I'll get my hands on the Canary Kid, you guys. So maybe I will toss Ricky around that ring a bit. He'll be my practice dummy, as I like to say. So that should be fun. But yeah, that's going to be great. I'm really looking forward to that. Going to be a good time. Let's see here. Sky Sports Video News has a question. He says, did any of your matches or anyone else in the company's matches ever turn into a full-out fist fight? Not that I know.
No, not that I can think of either.
The only time it got ugly, I'll say ugly, is the Battle Royal. Again, with Thandar and Jerry and his other cousin and me. And that got ugly. It wasn't necessarily fists, but it was real intense.
Well, if I remember correctly, it wasn't a cousin. It was Tim's half-brother.
Or half-brother. Yeah, you're right. And that was about the only time it got... Now, there was definitely tempers flaring in some of those shoot title matches we would do, even in the Group W days. I mean, Ackerman lost his temper big time with Andrew, with Ace. There was that. But, those kind of things were short-lived. Like, Mike was furious. He didn't get the belt, and he was mad. But the next day or whatever, he was over it.
Yep. That's one thing in pro wrestling, you have to have thick skin.
Yeah.
You can't just be, for lack of a better way to put it, you can't be Mr. Nice Guy.
And, now that I think of it with this question, there was never any... The matches where tempers got flared, and let's take the shoot matches aside. Forget those for a minute, but just all the other matches we do, everything we did normally. Very, very... I could count in one hand how many times there was an altercation in the ring somehow where people were mad at each other. For the most part, we worked.
Yeah.
We just worked the match. We didn't...
Well, I mean, you look at the Brooklyn Park Armory. What was it, Barger that worked with me?
Yep, Chris.
Yep. I mean, major size difference, but, we still worked. And he was good at working with smaller people.
I would say by the beginning of 1986, when we got out of the shoot title match era, that's when we really started focusing on just working matches properly. No more shoots, no more... Even though we had a Japan-style shoot today with me and Thandar, it was rough as hell. I still remember it. But like Dave has said many times, our egos were clashing, and that was the fuel behind all that.
And who do you have to blame for the egos clashing?
Thandar.
You started it.
Thandar.
You started it. He finished it.
All I did was just did a proper promo. Now, if he's that thin-skinned and he can't handle the promo talk, Ricky has that same problem. Ricky gets like that too, and people get offended. You can't get offended just because you're talking smack. So,
it's just like Crusher and I here on the show. I'll say some outlandish stuff about him.
Yep.
He'll talk smack back at me.
I mean, it's a work. It's a work, you guys.
If I didn't come out here and call him a 5-time loser, he'd think that there was something wrong with me.
And the reality of it is this too, though. Dave is doing this because he's seen Canary being a heel, and now he wants to have fun doing it too. You've got to admit that's part of it.
I've always enjoyed being a heel.
But you've got to admit it was Ricky that gave you that.
Look, to be honest, I really haven't watched a whole lot of Forward.
But he's doing it, and it's just... Because this all started after the Canary Kid.
Part of it, what got me going was, you get two baby faces working together. It gets kind of blah, kind of boring.
Yeah, it does.
You got to have that heel babyface dynamic.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. Dave, before we go away and before we sign off, yeah, I agree here. This comment by Sports Talk. He says, Dave has a new idol, the Canary Kid.
No, Dixie Dave's idol is Dixie Dave.
But Dave, I want to get these in before I don't want to forget this.
We don't want the old timers to kick in.
Yeah. And, oh my God, I didn't show the video preview either of what's coming up on the Video Network. I guess, should we do that first? And then we'll talk about what's coming up in our future shows. Yeah, let's run this promo. This is what's coming up on the Video Network, I believe, on April 1st. So this is a preview of what's to come. So we'll watch this quick, and then we'll be back, and I'm going to talk about what's coming up in the future shows, take in any more comments that come in here. So yeah, let's watch this promo quick, and we'll be right back.
Yeah.
And the weasel weaseled out of it like some skunk. And now this Peterson's getting on my back. He wants this Lumbro-Gaddick match of some sort. I don't know what it's called.
You can see. Oh, what a nice flying drop kick. And with a little bit of growing up, he'll be great. But this is a lightweight match here. And excuse me, Brad Hoff, the referee, asked him if he'd submit. And obviously see anybody stopping him personally, except Crusher Crossen and you, of course. And, no, it's gonna be the backbreaker. The inverted body vice, call it what you will, but it is still a submission hold. Slight atomic drop. Oh, the iron spike! Oh!
And here comes Pretty Boy Peterson. Half of the fabulous ones.
He goes for the tongue of boy. Yeah, Pretty Boy!
Oh, Pretty Boy, yeah. I hope he doesn't use those for anything suspicious. 6 minute cheering on the jackknife. Okay. Okay. Coming back into the ring. Oh, a headbutt. This is right now pretty fair. Oh, he's tangled in the ropes. One little chance of winning. That personally thinks is gonna win. Well,
You got a deal. I'll go with anybody anytime. I don't care who.
Hey, now I'm getting sick of these dumb revenge matches, Mike. I'd say if you don't want the same thing to happen to you again, I think you better stop trying to wrestle me for revenge.
Well, I promised Merciless I'll be in his corner, so I'm gonna stick right here at ringside.
oh, Mike is mad. Airplane spin by Merciless Mike. Oh, he goes faster, faster, faster.
Look at the face on him. Peterson's going out. Go out. Oh, Merciless trying to get him back in, but he's out.
Yeah, it says March 15th, but that ain't right. It's going to be April 1st. So that's going to be the next one coming up on the network.
Crusher forgot to change the dates.
Yeah, the dates aren't right. Dave screwed up on that when he set that up.
Yeah, I have nothing to do with that part of it.
Yep, Dave messed up. Let's see. There is I want to talk about what is coming up, Dave, on the future shows. So I guess we got this one coming up. Well, actually, I believe this is coming up on the 30th of March. We've got Harland Wolf, and there's also another one. I don't have the graphic, but Keaton also has that Patrick Patterson guy. He's coming up, I believe, this Sunday as well. So we got that. There's another one coming up on Sunday. Keaton we'll have one on Sunday. I just don't have the graphic, but this is the one we had planned. It's going to be March 30th. Or no. I take that back. Guys. This isn't going to happen. This has to get rescheduled. But me and Keaton will be live on the 30th, and Keaton wants to do a show where we talk about backyard wrestling, you guys. So we're going to discuss backyard wrestling, me and Wrestling Revolution Keaton on the 30th. That's what we're going to do. Keaton just wants to talk about it, you know. So I said, all right, we'll do a show. We can talk about it. Give you my opinion, what I think of it.
Personally, I think it gives us a bad name.
It can. I mean, people confuse us sometimes when they see our stuff. They think, was this backyard? And I've always said, you know, Wayne's opinion of it is backyard refers to being untrained, and that technically is us because we weren't trained officially, even though I was trained by Eddie at points in time. But I see his point. But my thinking is backyard wrestling was a whole other era. And the philosophy of backyard wrestling, you know, they're all about
you can take.
Yes, like let's do physical pain and let's see how much you can take, and let's make a name for ourselves that way. We never ever had that mindset.
You know, I mean,
shows we did.
I can't think of the guy's name, but there's a guy on YouTube who, you know, pardon the way I'm wording this, but he'll do stupid shit like he'll fill a table with Legos.
Yeah.
Flying elbow drop off the table into the Legos.
Yeah.
Right the table. I mean, his show is about how much pain can you take.
And it's just like
it's going to be like a Mick Foley type wrestler. And I think even Mick Foley would discourage against that.
Right. And it's like, and maybe that's entertaining for some people. The kind of wrestling I'm a fan of, that's not part of what I'm a fan of. So
exactly.
You know,
I mean, yes. Did I like ECW? Yeah. I mean, I actually knew somebody that worked for ECW.
Yeah.
You know, from the days over at Roper's. I knew one of the ECW champions.
But, you know, when I wrote my book, Dave, and documentary, that's where I got the most, you know, of people talking, you know, back then it was forums, you know.
Yeah.
And they were all like, you know, basically saying we're glorified backyarders. And so I got a really defensive stance towards it because I was like, no, we were different though. I mean, I on the surface, I can see where they sometimes make the comparison just because we're in a backyard sometimes and stuff. But it was, if people understood what was going on, that was a television show that was being filmed for cable, and it was being, you know, there was just so much more involved, you know?
Okay. Let me talk for a minute, Crusher. I know it's hard for you to let others talk.
Well, it's just because you take so long.
Okay. Backyard wrestling is about seeing how much pain you can take.
Yep.
Our show was about telling a story in the ring. Plain and simple.
Yeah. Well, doing it like it was on TV as much as we could, or as best we could, as best we could is the better way to put it.
You know, that's why I have no respect for these backyard wrestlers. They're about, okay, let me jump through a flaming table. Okay, why did you jump through the flaming table? You know, what's the story behind it? Why was it important to do?
Right. But Dave, before we keep going on this, I want to get these things out of the way. So let me talk about what's coming up on future shows, and then we'll get back to this conversation. So the next Forward show with me and the Canary Kid. This one I'm really looking forward to, you guys. Global Flyer Drake. You talk about impressive. This kid is good. He has been working at this for several years now. God, I just want to say maybe 4 to 5 years. We'll find out for sure when we interview him. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what kind of matches he'll provide us to do our watch along with. But this is going to be a great one. He's the Pure Pro Wrestling Cruiserweight Champion. That's the belt he's got. I believe he's still got the belt. And this is going to be a great interview. Very talented young man. He started out in the junior trainers there at Pure Pro, trained by Joe Bird in Michigan. Great program going on there. I'm really looking forward to this one. It's going to be a great interview for this guy. And I hope everybody can tune in for that one. That'll be a week from tomorrow on Friday. I'll do this interview. I'm looking forward to it with my fine feathered friend, the Canary Kid. Even though he doesn't respect Crusher Crossen and he talks a lot of smack to me, he's still my fine feathered friend.
Possibly the future NWF champion, as much as that may grind your gear.
Yeah. And guys, we're going to get back to the backyard conversation. Let me just get this out of the way. And then the next Rewind show with me and Dixie Dave, we're going to the dry dock in Spring Lake Park. And gosh, we're missing the thing that says the show. It doesn't show the show, Dave. But it's going to be show number 112 on Thursday, April 3rd. And studio taping 112. That's Mike Bauer in there with the arm lock on the Ice Dragon. Be a great show. Looking forward to that one. All right, so now that we got that out of the way, we got lots of comments rolling in. I think we stirred up a hornet's nest. Let's see what everybody's saying here. Let's get caught up here. So first of all, Super Mario Plush, I think this is where he left off, says, I feel like NWF was more underground. It's on par with a legit wrestling show, but on a much lower budget. Yeah, you know what? That's a very good description.
Yeah.
You know? Low budget, you bet. The only money we got was no budget. The only money we got was from the Armory shows we did. That was the only source of income we had. Nobody benefited from it personally. All the money went back into the show.
Constantly replacing wood.
Yeah, bring maintenance, booking other armories. I mean, that all took money. So between the armory cards and the sponsors we would get for the program guides and selling advanced tickets as much as we could, that's how we generated money. And then we'd sell the program guides and eventually make money. And then I learned pretty early on that the very first armory show I did, I had the Blaine's Johnsville Lions Club come in and do the concessions because I didn't know I had enough going on with the card itself. I didn't want to deal with concessions. Right. When I seen how much money they pulled in, I'm like, we are doing our own concessions going forward. That was the last time we used the Blaine Johnsville Lions Club. So yeah, that was an eye opener. It's like I said, you live and learn. I think I told this to Keaton, Wrestling Revolution Keaton. You learn from your mistakes, and I learned early on that concessions, we're going to do those ourselves because that's just extra income. Let's see. So as the comments come in, now Wayne says, not all backyarders do garbage wrestling. He says, and he's continuing on here, or hardcore wrestling.
But Wayne, you got to admit, a lot of what got exposure was the more hardcore backyard wrestling.
And he's saying backyard wrestling is not just about pain. And I know where Wayne's coming from. I know where he's going with this. And I've said it too, Dave. Not all backyard feds were the light tubes and thumbtacks and Mick Foley style. Not all backyarders were doing that. Some backyard feds were actually trying to do what we were doing.
Right.
There definitely was those as well. The problem I've always said, Wayne, this is my take on this, is because of the hardcore guys trying to do hardcore backyard wrestling overshadows all these other guys. And so they all get lumped into you're going to hurt yourself. You're going to, you shouldn't be doing this.
What I was saying is the hardcore style backyard wrestling got more exposure than the
legitimate stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't mean legitimate. I mean, but the ones that were trying to do it as
like we did
properly as they could.
Right.
Because some people say we're being hypocrites when we say you shouldn't, when we condone backyard wrestling and look what we did. Well, I've never condoned people trying to do what we did. I've always said I wish there would be somebody who would do what we did. And even though people like the Canary Kid and Subforce Arnie are doing wrestling like we did, as young kids, they're not doing the whole promotion like we did.
Right.
I don't think we'll ever see that. Do you think that'll ever happen again?
No.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, the last kids that ran their own promotion successfully at any point was probably Matt and Jeff Hardy.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. Super Mario Plush says, my stance on backyard wrestling is there's many great feds who can actually work and tell stories without the hardcore deathmatch style. Yeah, exactly. Like that's what we were just saying. And I agree with that. And Damien, I'm just going to get these comments in because I don't want these guys to know. We're going to get every one of your comments in here. Damien says, I agree with you, Wayne. Some backyard wrestling is not crazy, and it is a fun to watch. Many of the backyard are turning into MMA matches for kids. Those are good too. Yeah, there's also the backyard MMA guys who are actually fighting, but they're doing it MMA rules and everything. You know, I don't have a problem with that.
No.
You know, if that's what they want to do, and as long as they're being safe about it and stuff. And then Super Mario says, as someone who does like hardcore deathmatch wrestling, I feel like it could work in the backyard if done in moderation. Yeah, or a little more control. You know, maybe pre-plan it a little bit better so that when you're doing that, when you do your table spots and stuff, you're doing it right, you know, and not just doing it on a whim.
Exactly. You know, if you're going to do a table spot, you make sure that the table's gimmicked properly so nobody gets hurt.
And then Wayne says, I'm going to get caught up on the comments here. Wayne says, look at Wikipedia entry on backyard wrestling. He says, those were the DVDs, VHS tapes sold in the 90s. And then he says, but you guys did your young age was a big, but you guys did it at your young age was a big deal. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's funny when you mention Wikipedia, I wish we could be in there, but the problem is way back when I tried putting us in Wikipedia not knowing the rules, and they don't like that. So then they got rid of it. And the only way you can get into Wikipedia is if somebody else writes it. You know, it's got to be somebody else that's not affiliated with you. So anybody out there is interested to write up on Wikipedia, have at it. But it can't be me. It can't be Dave. You can't be affiliated with it. So I wish we were represented in there properly. I just didn't know the rules back when I tried to get us on Wikipedia. And so obviously they don't let you do that way.
And I'm going to say this. If somebody does decide to put us in Wikipedia, please get a hold of Crusher and do it properly. You know, have the proper information in there.
Well, all they need is the book or the documentary. Know the story. I mean, that's really what it is. But yeah, you know. But I think it's cool. It's always cool to. I wish the only reason I say this because there's so many. I'm not a big fan of Wikipedia, but I know a lot of people reference it, and it would be nice to be referenced in there properly, you know. But so people understand. I think the only thing that's in Wikipedia for us, I believe, is the documentary. I think that's in there, but I don't even think it mentions my name.
You know, the thing about Wikipedia, though, is it can be edited by whoever.
Right.
And the information can be improper.
Right. And then people keep changing it and adding it. And yeah, it really isn't a good source to rely on.
You know, it's like our morning DJ guy on the radio station I listen to here tells a story about how one of his friends added his name into the band history of the band Faster Pussycat.
Yeah.
You know, just because he could.
Right. But they're pretty good. Like, that is one thing. You get the other people that there are like trolls on Wikipedia that just look for that stuff. And when they find people doing stuff that they really, when they're like behind it, they'll call you out. I got called out 20 years ago when I tried putting our stuff in there. But again, I just didn't know. I didn't know that's the rules. So yeah, that's a big no-no. You don't ever want to make a page about yourself on Wikipedia. So, you know, I just didn't know. But no, back to backyard wrestling. it'll be a great conversation with Keaton when we talk about this. Here's the thing. Here's my take. I don't have any problem with guys trying to do backyard properly, trying to do wrestling properly, trying to really capture the art of professional wrestling as a backyard fed. I really don't have a problem with it.
Key point there. Capturing the art of professional wrestling.
Right. And there's a meaning behind that. That's why Dave caught me saying it. Because the art of professional wrestling is the act of illusion. It's putting on a performance without hurting one another.
Right.
That's the art. And so if you can make a hardcore match, great, but you better not be getting hurt in the process, because otherwise you're not doing it right. You know, and I'm not saying you're not going to feel some pain, but you shouldn't be intentionally trying to hurt one another. So as long as you're doing it with the art involved, I'm all for it. And I have no problem with that. But for those that have the other mentality that just want to go out and try to just inflict pain and still do the 90s style of the light tubes, you know, and really the hardcore edge, and they're going to just try to hurt one another, not a fan. Not a fan of that. Never have been. So,
you know, I mean, I've enjoyed a few deathmatch.
Well, I don't mind the hardcore match. I'm just saying doing it and actually hurting one another.
Well, what I mean is, you know, if you look back in history, in Japan, there was a King of Deathmatch series. And the main event of it was Terry Funk versus Cactus Jack.
Yeah.
Now, you want to talk about two guys that can inflict and take pain. There you go.
Oh, yeah. Terry Funk especially.
You know.
And some of these guys like Funk and even Mick Foley, they kind of got the reputation, so they got to push that envelope.
Yeah.
Because they're known for that. Abdullah the Butcher's another one.
Yeah.
He was known. I mean, you would book a guy like that because that's what you wanted in the match. You wanted him to take the fork out. You wanted him to see that head get busted open. I mean, that was what Abdullah was booked for.
You know, you wanted to see the madman from Sudan spread Hep C.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But, you know, and again, like I said, it's not that I don't like backyard wrestling, but here's what I don't like, Wayne. I don't like being compared to backyard wrestling with what we did. Because the people that do that insinuate that we are trying to hurt one another and we're falling into that 90s crowd that had that bad reputation. That I don't like being compared to.
No.
None of us do. You know.
Well, I mean, those in the business can tell that we were not backyarders.
No, look, Eddie Sharkey would have never... Eddie Sharkey wouldn't have wanted to do a card with us. He wouldn't have let me come to his training camp if he thought we were not worth investing in.
Well, I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about, like, when you went to that wrestling convention. When you and Lane went to the wrestling convention.
Yeah.
You know, look at how many famous wrestlers, former WWE stars, would come up and check out what we did.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you said that there was, I can't remember who it was, but you said that there was somebody there that was charging, you know, $20-$30 for autographs.
Abdullah the Butcher is right next to us.
Yeah. And
other wrestlers came up. He charged them to get a picture. Yeah, other like smaller indie guys in the business, you know.
You know, but you got pictures for free.
Well, because he liked us. He liked what our story was. He liked the whole... That's just it. The guys were very interested in our whole story at that time. They really were. And almost... They appreciated the hard work we put into it. Let's just say that. And they told us as much. It's really cool. It was cool. I'm glad we did that.
You know, they could tell that we had the heart, the passion, and the drive for it.
Yeah. It was really... It was really fun. And then, let's see, Super Mario Plush says, for as long as I've seen Terry Funk matches, he's always been labeled as middle-aged and crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be Terry Funk.
I love Terry Funk in Roadhouse, the movie. I thought that was perfect role for him.
Yeah.
And Wayne says, IWA Mid-South, a legit promotion, had an annual King of the Death Match tournament. Yeah. And Wayne says, no, you were backyarders. Backyarders are untrained. But Wayne, remember, Eddie Sharkey started training me. So where do you draw that line? There was a time when Eddie Sharkey started training me, and I would bring all that back to the guys. So that's a kind of a fine line there. We started out that way for sure, like you're saying, but I've always said backyarders just wasn't a term, it wasn't a term, nobody called us backyarders. Not in those days,
Plus, could backyarders sell out arenas?
And it wasn't uncommon to be self-trained in wrestling in the 70s and early 80s. That was a thing. Yep. Nobody trained Bobby Heenan. He's one of the best workers there was. Now, granted, Heenan was in the business and he got to learn that pretty good by a lot of good people, right? So I get it, but
may he rest in peace.
Yeah, but there was not just Heenan. There was a lot of guys that were self-trained, and so self-training was a thing.
Yeah,
but.
I mean, it's all on how well you understood what was going on in the ring and how well could you mimic what was going on.
And the bottom line with old school especially is the philosophy of a match. You need to understand it's that you're working it and stuff. It's just nowadays it would be hard to self-train because it's gotten so technical.
Right.
I don't think you could self-train today. But in the old school style matches, definitely self-training was definitely a thing. Because the matches weren't as complicated.
And, okay, with you talking about training and all that, we've talked about something behind the scenes. There's something coming up down the road that could potentially be kind of cool. A guest that we've talked about having.
Oh, yeah.
I have a friend who is going through a training camp of a former WWE superstar, and down the road, we will probably have him here on one of the NWF shows.
Probably on Forward. Make more sense to be over there. And Dave might jump in on that one.
Oh, yeah.
And, that's, just kind of show the story of what it's like getting into the business. And, it's a great story, and he's a great talker, and it'll be.
Oh yeah, Crusher's seen some of his promo work, and
yeah.
Now, are you following him on YouTube?
I do. I checked out his stuff, and I don't know if he's back yet at the camp or not. I know he's got to go back again.
Not yet.
So we gotta. Once he gets through it, though, we're gonna bring him on the show. So. He's taking just a little bit of a break right now, just get some money up again so he can pay off the rest of his dues. But be a great story, you guys. You guys got to tune into that. It'll be a very fascinating story. The training camp, I know Wayne's asking which training camp it is. It's the, we can say that much. It was the
Jacobs Pritchard Wrestling Academy.
Yeah, Dr. Tom Pritchard, and yep. Who I happened to meet. I met Dr. Tom Pritchard when I was at the Fan Fest in Washington, D.C., so he's a nice guy, and he's in good hands. And Dave was able to get this guy set up with him on that, with our affiliation with Carol. And so it was like the stars aligned, and it all made it work for this guy. So it'll be a fascinating story. This guy had no way to get into the business. It was Dixie Dave who got this thing rolling for him, just so everybody knows.
When I met the guy, he was selling phones in a wireless cell phone store.
Yes. Yeah. He's very appreciative to Dave, by the way, you guys, for the opportunity that he's now getting. So I seen some of his in-ring stuff too, Dave. It's fascinating.
Oh yeah.
So, and then Dave's saying, yeah, so Wayne and I are talking about he's saying later on and not right away. Yeah, referring to my comments about the whole backyard analogy. And then Super Mario says, I'm just going to say Super Mario. That's a long thing otherwise. Super Mario. I feel like the last self-trained guys were the Hardy Boys. Yeah, probably, huh, Dave?
It wouldn't surprise me.
I can't think of anybody else that was actually self-trained otherwise later after these guys. And it's not that they didn't get some proper training at some point. They did, I think, right? Didn't the Hardys actually after get some proper training a little bit?
I don't remember the full story.
I thought they did. But they definitely started out that way. You know another one that started out self-trained? Jerry the King Lawler. A lot of people don't know that. You'd be surprised when you look into guys that were actually self-trained. So yeah, and then Wayne was saying, Ken Anderson. Anderson's training camp. Is Ken Anderson like somebody in Minnesota that's doing it? Is that it?
Ken Anderson is somebody who had worked for WWE, worked for TNA, and then he is always billed from being from Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
But for a while, he had a school here in Minnesota.
Okay.
And it was initially the school that my friend wanted to go to, but it's apparently shut down, and he had no knowledge of any other training camps.
Yeah, Ken Kennedy in WWE.
And Ken Anderson in TNA.
And he still has a training camp, says Wayne. But, you know, so back to backyard, though. So my point is this, you know, I still say what we did was our own thing. Now, I will agree with Wayne. We were not professionally trained. With the exception of Eddie Sharkey, who gave me training, we were not professionally trained, especially in the beginning. So there's that. But my big thing with us, though, Dave, is our mindset in the mindset of the backyarders of the 90s for the most part. Because even though there were guys trying to do it right in the 90s, the vast majority were doing the hardcore pain and agony and everything like that. They really were.
Because it would get them attention.
Because it was what was getting the clicks and the views and the attention and everything. So I always consider what we did more innovative in trying to capture the art of wrestling. And if you look at all those newspaper articles, the Twin Cities Reader, the ABC newspapers, the Minneapolis Star Tribune, they all seen the same thing. All of their articles are written with positive reinforcement with what we were doing. Like, look at what these amazing kids are doing. Just like Gagne's Boys was the title of the Twin City Reader.
Right.
Just like Gagne's Boys. Video Kid, Crusher Crossen. So,
you know, so we were.
It was just a different era.
We were being compared to stars from that era.
Yeah.
And it was, for lack of a better way to put it, it was approved by Vern Gagne for us to be compared to them. Because if the news station wouldn't have gotten the approval from Vern to use their name, use their footage, that story wouldn't have happened.
You know something, Wayne? I was just thinking Wayne would make a great guest with me and Keaton on the 30th to talk about backyard wrestling. Gosh, I don't know if Wayne can do it, but because we don't have a guest. Wrestling Revolution Keaton doesn't have a guest for that show. That's on Sunday afternoons, though. I don't know if it works. But if it works, Wayne, you're always invited for that one. We can talk about the backyard with Keaton on the 30th because that's going to be the show. He's thinking, like, who can we get to talk about backyard wrestling? Because he wants to, like, Keaton's like, can we find a backyard wrestler? I'm like, I don't know. I don't think it's not as famous of a thing as it used to be. Like,
right.
But that would be a good show. Let's see here. Super Mario says, even though I plan on getting trained and going pro, I would work a few backyard shows if they are legit trained, have a ring, etc. Yeah, you just gotta vet them out, make sure that what they're doing. For the first thing I'd want to know with backyard is how long have you been doing it? How long has it been going? If it's something that just started, that's where you got to be
Stay
shaky.
away.
Yeah, there's a one-off type thing. But if it's something they've been committed to and are doing for a while, that would be the first thing I'd look for. Yeah, no, it's not this Sunday. It's next Sunday though, Wayne. But it's the 30th. But yeah. But if you can't, you can't. Let's see. Wayne says, I would not say vast majority. There were many kids/teens doing the same thing you guys did, but without a TV show. Yeah, and maybe not a ring, maybe not an armory show. There wasn't too many kids doing it like with an actual professional wrestling ring like we got at one point, Definitely kids doing it in their backyard though, for damn sure. Yeah, Wayne, if you can do the 30th, that would be great. I think you'd be the perfect person to talk about backyard. I think that would make a great guest for that. And I think Keaton would love it too. So we could have a really good discussion there. Yeah. But that's, I know what Wayne's saying, and I get it. The whole, backyard or untrained, mentality. I get that talk. I know what he's saying. So, but I just, like I said, my big thing was always being compared to the backyard of the 90s, like I did when I wrote my book. And that's where I get real defensive, because hell, the terminology wasn't even being used back in our day.
Right.
But yeah, the 30th, Wayne, if you can do that, let me know, because I definitely will get you on for that. That'd be fun. It'd be like, when do we do the show? We do it Sunday, the 30th, I believe at like noon. Right at noon is when the show goes, because it's 7 o'clock Ireland time.
Noon your time or noon?
Oh, I'm sorry. Noon my time. It would be 1 p.m. Central time. Yeah.
But Crusher, we've been rambling on for 2 hours.
Yeah, we did. We went a long time tonight, guys. We talked a lot. We got into this backyard rant, and
so we should probably wrap up the show here.
Again, though, remember, guys, yeah, and that's exactly what I'm saying, Wayne. Not to keep it going, but that's exactly what I'm saying. I don't like to be linked to the DVDs sold in the 90s. That stuff they tried to push in all the DVDs in those 1990s, that backyard stuff. But for those who tried to do it right, man, all the power to them.
Yep.
Still to this day, I would say that. So, yeah. But yeah, so, and yeah, I agree with, again, like with Super Mario, absolutely. Find a good one, though. Make sure it's a decent one that's doing good stuff. Get your feet wet. Nothing wrong with that. And then everybody's saying as we go, Gizmo says, good show. Good night. Great show. And Sky Sports, love the show tonight. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. It's been fun. We just went a long one on this one, guys. But we have fun. Dave and I get in these chats and we start talking with you guys, and sometimes we lose track of time.
Yep. I looked down at the clock and realized we've been going 2 hours. I know you have a life away from the show. Yep. I've got a life away from the show. Everybody watching has a life. So,
and then before we sign off, Dave, Sunday, June 1st, if anybody can get over to Ireland, the NWF belt is on the line again with the Canary Kid and Ben Nelson. I don't know who's going to get this one. It's but I'm reffing it, so we'll see. I'll lay the law and the hammer down here. And if Canary gets, if your boy Canary Kid gets out of line, I'll slap him up because I'm the referee.
And I know it's going to grind your gears if you got to count Ben's shoulders down.
I'll make the count, but Canary just better keep his temper under control. That Irish temper of his. That's what gets him in trouble.
You got to remember though, both these boys are Irish, so.
Well, they are. But Canary has a hot fuse. He just has to keep his cool. We'll see if he can do it.
Yep.
All right, guys. Great show.
See weeks, folks. Crush will see you next week.
Yep. And Wayne, let's touch base. I'll send you an email on that. We'll kind of work that out if you can make it on the 30th. That'd be great. We'll have you on Keaton's show and I think you'll find we're not going to do any watch learning. We're just going to talk. So it's just going to be a talk thing. And just we're going to talk backyard. So be a fun conversation. All right. Sounds good, everybody. So let's see. And like I said, next week, Global Flyer Drake. Don't miss it. It's going to be a great forward show with me and Canary Kids. So with our
And
guests.
then in 2 weeks, you get me back.
Unfortunately, it's Dixie Dave back again with Crusher Crossen, which makes the show. So yeah.
I don't know. You didn't bill me on the show 2 weeks ago, and the views kind of suck.
Yeah, Gizmo, you picked a horrible time with you and the crew to not tune in because now let's listen to him. He keeps saying that's because we didn't have any people talking because Dixie Dave wasn't there.
Well, you didn't bill me. I was there, but you didn't bill me, so you just billed you and Jamie.
I see Wayne, boo to Dave. Yes, the heel that you are. All right, guys. We will see you guys.
I love them.
We'll see you on the next time we're live.
Later, folks.